way, if we can pass the highway bill, for every dollar we spend on infrastructure, we get $5 back. So it's a wonderful investment for our construction workers and the building trades and schools and things of that nature. So I think those are the ways we're going to have to get it done. And no more stalling and delaying and just saying no all the time. It's easy to say no in that chamber. And quite frankly, I think it's just a backbencher mentality that we can't do anything. And this country's got the best workforce on the planet. We got to utilize it. Next week and the week after, I think when we're still in, we're going to do the Made in America agenda, and we have got to start looking at making things in this country again and expanding. I talked to the iron workers, for example, and I hope this will finish the answer to your question. They said, look, we can put these bridges up, but do us a big favor, Congressman. Don't send us Chinese steel. It's inferior. Send us American steel. And we'll put the bridges up better than anybody. And I will tell you, the building trades and the people I know that are trained, they know what they're doing. But let's give them American products to build and construct the things that we need to construct. And in our bill, we have that the American provision in it. So I think that's a good thing for all of us.
Congressman, you mentioned a number of, we know that the Korean trade bill is supported by the President. President Clinton was in office when NAFTA was passed. So this is not necessarily a partisan thing, it's an American thing. What is the biggest problem with the trade situation, and how do you fix that long term?
Well, I think you need a trade policy, and that policy has to be, where does this administration or any administration, what is their policy on trade? I, quite frankly, to be honest with you, I don't want to deal with the trade rep anymore, because sometimes on a Monday he'll tell us something, Wednesday he gives a speech and it's not what we heard Monday. I'd like the President to give us a layover, an outline, a blueprint of what his trade policy is. And then here's what I'd like to see, and I think if we did this, we probably would see some fairly decent trade laws. I want to see manufacturing and agriculture at the head of the list when it comes to negotiating these trade agreements. They're usually at the very end of it. After the trade deal is negotiated, they hand the trade deal to manufacturing and agriculture and say, here, I hope you guys like this. Well, they need to be at the forefront of all these trade deals. So we need to have our trade rep has got to be proactive. And we can do that. I think the other thing, to be honest with you, is some of these, a lot of these trade deals can go, but I think the President has not really given us a clear, and I respect him a lot, and I support him in many ways, but this I'm having a difficult time because I don't think he's given us, where does he want to take us with regarding trade? We need a dislocated worker program attached to the trade bills too, because let me go back to Galesburg if I could for a minute. When those folks lost their jobs, several of them were told, have you ever thought of going into medical administrative, like transcription things, office clerk? 300 of those workers went for training. At the end of the training, 1 year training, they were called back in. There was only placement for 30 of them. The remaining 270 were asked if you ever considered cosmetology. Now, that's not going to get it. When you've worked all your life and you lose your job because, and I met with the CEO of Maytag, he told me he didn't care about Galesburg. He had a fiduciary responsibility to stockholders of Maytag, and by the way, the plant in Reynosa, Mexico closed recently. So, from my perspective, I think we need to enact something like the Patriot Corp that will hold jobs here and manufacturers here and give, instead of incentives to leave, to incentives to stay. But I want to see a strong safety net for farmers. But I also want to see a strong safety net for American workers if they lose their job. I don't know why we were stuck as Illinois taxpayers with a $9 million bill when Maytag bolted, and yet they leave, and these workers have to fend for themselves. They're on unemployment compensation. Their health benefits run out, and Maytag walks out without caring at all. Where's the corporate responsibility here? I believe that we can have really good trade in this country. No question about it. But you got to be tough. And Doug, you got to be tough when you're sitting down with people that want to trade with us. For example, Colombia. They want our products. And that's a wonderful thing. They have nothing to ship to us. So what we're asking of Colombia is, and I don't think it's a heck of a lot, is to say, can you stop the assault on trade unionists and their families? And can you start prosecuting people over there if you want our products? And I don't think that ought to take literally an act of Congress to get them to stand up and do it. So I think in a lot of these things, it's just a matter of sitting down and being hard when you negotiate a trade deal, and making sure that when you do these things, if there are losses of jobs, we can fix it.
You and Mr. Schilling ran into each other over the weekend as sort of an impromptu thing, I guess. Is the debate issue dead? Are you guys going to be able to get together?
Well, it wasn't impromptu. It was we had a candidate forum, the community caring conferences, and Rock Island Township put on. I've been very clear about these debates from the very beginning. Let me just say, I have put up with what I call 16 months of Schilling shenanigans. No more. I said I will be more than happy to take both Springfield Public Broadcasting and Rock Island that will reach 1 million viewers in studio for as long as you want, an hour, 2, doesn't matter. Moderator, pick my vote. Any question and every question is on the table. And talk to people, look into the camera, and tell them why you want to represent this district, what you're about, what your views are. I don't want to go into a shout-a-thon. I've been through enough of those. And I think I'll be very candid with you. The last straw that broke this camel's back was when I had a fundraiser in Springfield, and 12 of his supporters with a banner showed up and started harassing the people that came to my fundraiser and myself. And I'm not going to put up with it. So he has the opportunity to have 1 million people listen to how he stands on the issues. And he asked me about it yesterday, and he accused the Springfield PBS person of being a Democrat that had given me money. But we looked on our records. I didn't see any. I know he gave money to John Shimkus. I could swear John Shimkus is a Republican, not a Democrat. So listen, I'll let if he wants to do the empty chairs, that's his option. I mean, he's spoken to a lot of empty chairs since he's been in this race. The other thing is, yesterday I didn't hear a single piece of legislation proposed by this man, other than before we vote on any single bill, we have to read every page of it on the floor of the House of Representatives. That includes if you name the post office after a retired person or somebody that passed away. So look, I would be more than happy to, but it's awfully hard to carry on a debate when people are hollering, screaming, calling names. And let's do this and let people see it. You can put it on YouTube, you can watch it, you can tape it, you can play it, you can quote it, you can do anything you want to do. And his remark that I found a bit odd was that he would allow the media to come to the event. How kind of him. He would allow the televisions and radio stations and newspapers to come to the debate. I think that's an interesting concept. I just assumed that was a natural. They were there yesterday. I was there for 2 hours. We had questions. And, the ball's in his court. He knows exactly where I'm at on this issue. But, and I'm not moving on it. Had the tone of this campaign been different, I think that there might have been a little bit more room for me to move. But I am not going to allow him to dictate where, when, and who can attend. And by the way, he doesn't even want now distribution of tickets to people. It's first come, first served. So, no thanks. And I don't think the people that I've talked to, I think it's a very fair offer. So, yes, sir.
Back to free trade. You control both houses of Congress and the executive branch.
We do.
Can't you kind of squash it in? I mean, we shoved a very unpopular health care bill through. Couldn't you in this one?
Well, we're working on it. We have the House Trade Working Group. We're working very hard. There's a number of us, Mike Mishu from Maine, Betty Sutton from Ohio, Linda Sanchez from California, myself, a number of us that oppose these kinds of things. Unfortunately, we have some members of my party, and they certainly have the right to their opinion, that want to proceed with the bill. Well, that's fine. That's democracy. I have no problem with that. But I think it's important for us and our side to be heard. When we had the Peru debate, we got the majority of the Democrats to vote no. But again, the problem is we don't get any help from the other side. We have 1 or 2 people. One of them is a good friend of mine, Walter Jones from North Carolina. He's very much opposed to this deal. So there's not many on the other side we can count. But I think you bring up a good point. We have all 3, and I am amazed that the president would bring a bill up like this without saying it has to be fixed before we get a chance to vote on it.